Americans for contraception. Unfortunately, Americans' reproductive freedoms are under attack across the country, including here in North Carolina. When the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote that the court should also reconsider Griswold v. Connecticut, the 1965 case establishing the right to contraception. Today, that right to basic contraception, which Thomas proposes to reconsider, includes the pill, IUDs, and even condoms. Despite overwhelming public support for contraception, which most American families use, last year, every single North Carolina House Republican voted against the Right to Contraception Act, introduced last year by North Carolina's own Congresswoman Kathy Manning. She also reintroduced the bill in June of this year. At the same time, North Carolina is one of the first states to put forth bills to protect people's freedoms in the face of this threat. We have one in the Senate called the Right to Use Contraception Act and one in the House called Preserve Access to Contraceptives, both filed in the spring of this year. If signed into law, the bills would protect the right to condoms, the pill, and IUDs in North Carolina. Today we are joined by State Senator Greg Meyer, North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, Pro-Choice North Carolina Executive Director Tara Romano, Faith Leader Mary Elizabeth Hanchy, Red, White, and Blue activist Renee Seckel, and performance artist Ayanna Albertson-Gay. We are here to highlight the need to protect the right to contraception here in North Carolina by encouraging our legislators to support Senate Bill 540 and bring it to a vote. With that said, I'm proud and grateful to start the event off with Senator Greg Meyer.
Thank you, Susanna. I'm Greg Meyer. I represent Orange County, Caswell County, and Person County in the North Carolina Senate. And I am proud to be a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 540, the right to use contraception, sponsored by Senator Lisa Grafstein. It's our state version of the federal bill filed by our own North Carolina Representative Kathy Manning. Since we've started this legislative session, we've seen that the North Carolina Republican Party and their legislative leadership are on a downward spiral to take away women's right to reproductive health care, and we want to put a stop to that, both on their attacks on abortion and to affirmatively say to North Carolinians that we believe that they all have a right to contraception. Contraception is needed by both men and women. It is important for both men and women to make sure that they are able to make family planning decisions on the time that they choose. And I would say to my Republican colleagues that if you want to reduce abortions, you should make it easier to have access to contraception. The right to use contraception bill, Senate Bill 540, has not been given a hearing by any legislative committee because this General Assembly leadership is not serious about taking care of North Carolina's families and providing for adequate reproductive health care choices for the men and women of our state. I'm glad you're here today to listen to the voices of people who will make it clear why this is so important for North Carolina to affirmatively give the right to contraception to every man and woman in our fine state. And I turn it over now to North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton.
Thank you so much, Senator Meyer. It's an honor to be up here and standing with so many amazing folks who are here today to talk about protecting our right to choose, our right to a choice. And while I could talk a lot about facts and statistics standing up here, I won't, because contraception to me is personal. And it's something that, it's personal to everyone who experiences, and I think that wants to elevate the reasons why they use birth control in this country and in this state in particular. My family, my parents, I'm going to get real personal up here with y'all today too. My parents and every woman in my family suffers from something called von Willebrand's disease. Von Willebrand's disease causes you to bleed quite a lot, and it's whenever I get a cut on my wrist, I need a big Band-Aid, or if I ever fall or something like that, I bleed excessively. And women that have this disease, especially when they have their period, end up bleeding excessively. And it's something that causes you to have immense and terrible cramping. It's something that when you're talking about the right to and wanting to be able to control that, you should be able to. I was put on birth control when I was 15 because of it. Not because I was necessarily having sex or because I was worried about getting pregnant, but it was something that I was trying to prevent the immense pain that I was in and actually having the right to control that. And for me right now and for young women across this state, our right to have that is being threatened by one of the highest courts in the land. When the fall of Roe happened in 2021, we saw the highest court say that they were not only coming for our right to abortion, they were coming for our right to choose whether or not we could protect ourselves. Not only in the sense of gay marriage threatening our LGBTQ plus community, but also threatening the right to contraception. And we saw when Roe fell what happened in states across our country where they regressed because abortion rights were taken backwards. And we need to make sure with this bill supporting what Senator Grafstein and other Democrats right now in our legislature are trying to do, which is stop that, stop the actual repercussions from that, stop us from regressing backwards, and keeping the rights to women's privacy, the right to birth control, and the right for us to actually have the ability to choose in our control. That's what this is about, our freedom. I'm honored today to be up here, and I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's fighting for this on the ground right now, our Democrats in our legislature. And it's my honor to introduce Tara Romano, someone who has been an advocate for pro-choice North Carolina everywhere. Thank you all so much.
Anderson, for sharing your personal story. And that reiterates what we have always said about all kinds of reproductive health care. It is health care. Abortion and contraception are health care. They are not political footballs that we can be using, that lawmakers should be using just to gain cheap political points. So at Pro-Choice North Carolina, where I'm the executive director, is Tara Romano, our mission is to ensure that all people have the resources and the support they need without harassment or judgment to a comprehensive range of reproductive health care options, and this includes equitable access to the full range of contraception. Access decimated across the country in the 15 months since Roe was overturned, but the foundation for that devastating Supreme Court decision had been decades in the making. Junk science, false narratives, hyper-political judges, and brazen legislative and political attacks on abortion all chipped away at that access. Finally, the anti-abortion movement had consolidated the power it needed on the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn what was supposed to be quote-unquote settled law in nearly 50 years of legal precedent. There was no reason to think that an even older precedent, 1965 Supreme Court decision in Griswold v. Connecticut, is not also in the crosshairs of the anti-abortion and the anti-choice movement. Just as with abortion, we have witnessed decades of attempts to erode access to contraception. There are women health clinics immediately post-Roe that did not offer abortion but did offer family planning, i.e. birth control, that immediately attracted the ire of anti-abortion protesters, and that connection has never been severed. Over the years, we have seen anti-abortion centers, abstinence-only sex ed curriculums, anti-abortion websites, and now right-wing social media influencers spread false and inflammatory information about the efficacy and safety of birth control. False narratives based on misogynistic and racist stereotypes about who accesses birth control have led to congressional hearings, lawsuits, smear campaigns against young women who speak out, and even U.S. Supreme Court decisions that give employers, politicians, and right-wing special interests a say over one's access to birth control. And when these efforts to shame and intimidate people about using birth control have not worked, birth control remains highly popular in this country. We've seen political attacks on insurance coverage for contraception, legislative efforts to keep safe contraception away from minors, and even the empowerment of anti-choice pharmacists to block people from accessing birth control. This is the same playbook for attacks on abortion, and the end goal is the same in both instances. Block aspects to common facets of reproductive health care, in particular women's reproductive health care. And like abortion, contraception is also health care, and politicians play dangerous games with other people's lives when they restrict and ban it. Opposition to birth control, as with abortion, is about control, perpetuating gender inequality, and enforcing rigid gender, racial, and social hierarchies. That's why legislation like what has been introduced at the federal and state level is so important. As we've seen with this rash of recent Supreme Court decisions upending settled law, we cannot be complacent about our rights, including our right to bodily autonomy and the right to plan and grow our families in ways that work best for ourselves. There is no middle ground with the anti-choice extremists. This emboldened opposition that successfully overturned Roe is not going to stop at attacking abortion. We must act now to protect our bodies, our families, our futures, and our rights. Both abortion and contraception are part of the normal, full range of reproductive health care, and any society that claims to care about the health, safety, and lives of people who can get pregnant must protect both options. We applaud the lawmakers taking these proactive steps to protect birth control access and urge their colleagues to join them. Thank you, and now I'm going to introduce local clergy, Mary Elizabeth Hanchy. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. My name is Mary Elizabeth Hanchy, and I am a faith leader. I am a pastor. I'm a mother. I am someone who has used birth control on and off for several decades. And I am here to say that it is absolutely our job in this state. It is your job as legislators to make sure that people have the right to choose the medical care that they need in order to be healthy and whole, in order to have the economic stability, in order to be safe, in order to lead the life that this state values and promises, which is to be able to live with freedom, making important decisions about our own lives and our own bodies. I am a pastor, and I hear stories every day and every week from people who want some input and advice on very difficult things in their life. And every day I have to make decisions about what things are mine to help with and what things I need to refer out to experts. Sometimes I have to send people to talk to lawyers, to doctors, to law enforcement, to mental health professionals, to people who are equipped to help them make the decisions that they need in order to be safe and whole. And as a legislature, we need you to make sure that people have the ability to make those decisions with the people who are experts, to make those decisions with their mental health professionals, to make those decisions with their doctors. We need for you to have the humility to refer out in the same way that pastors must do that. I am exhausted by rhetoric that suggests that there is anything that is Christian or evangelical about affecting someone's right to medical care and right to choose birth control and contraception. In fact, I follow a Jesus who is known for being touched by that woman who was bleeding. That is one of my favorite gospel passages to preach on. This woman had been bleeding and was ostracized from society because of it, and reached out and touched the hem of Jesus, and he turned and healed her. There is nothing biblical about making it so that people do not have access to the birth control that they need. Furthermore, I am someone who has a bleeding disorder, and my life could be gravely in danger were I to become pregnant again. I choose to use birth control now in order to make sure that I live a life that is safe and that I am able to continue to be around for the children that I have had. Not everyone has that story. Not everyone needs birth control because of something that is life-threatening. Some people do. Everyone should get to have the choice. Everyone should get to seek their health and their wholeness in consultation with their experts and their family and their faith professionals. Thank you for ensuring that this legislation goes into place.
Hi, my name is Renee Seckel, and I am the Deputy North Carolina Program Director for Red, White, and Blue. And in our job is to organize women to stand up for the issues that matter to them. So I and my colleagues, as you might imagine, speak to women every single day all across this state. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, one thing I have literally never heard is a woman saying, you know what I want? I would like lawmakers to take charge of what's in my bedside table, what's in my medicine cabinet. I want them in my bedroom. It simply doesn't happen. To the contrary, we know that women want to be left alone, to be able to decide by themselves, in consultation with their romantic partners, with clergy and medical professionals, when it's right for them to become parents. This is an issue that transcends political party. It's an issue that transcends religion, economic station, social class, race, pretty much anything you could possibly imagine. Women and men want access to contraception, and they want lawmakers out of their bedrooms. And of course, polling bears this out. We have polling that indicates that 91% of Americans agree that contraception should be not just legal, but free and widely available. I mean, seriously, can you think of any other issue that polls as well as 91%? Maybe you'll get that level of agreement for puppies are cute. So we've got puppy level popularity for contraception here, and we have a law just sitting here right now that could be passed this week for contraception, to protect contraception access. And let me be clear, lawmakers could right now, this week, if they so choose, pass the access to contraception laws if that was important to them. With puppy level popularity, there should be a line out the door of legislators stampeding to co-sponsor this bill. And yet it's been left to linger in a committee for months at a time. So why is this? Do we have legislators who are just so completely divorced from what their constituents need and want that they just don't care? Are they planning to file their own bills restricting or banning access to contraception and are just really hoping that none of us are going to talk about it or notice? That is why it's so critically important for us to make sure that each and every one of our legislators is on record now today, pledging not only their support for free and legal access to contraception, but also actionable work. It is not enough to say you support. They need to sign on to the bill. They need to pass this bill as soon as they can. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ayanna Albertson-Gay.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayanna Albertson-Gay. I am a writer, spoken word poet, World Poetry Slam champion, as well as an all-around creative here from this great state of North Carolina. Above all those things though, I like to call myself an artvocate, which is the merging of artistry and advocacy. James Baldwin once said, "A society must assume that it is stable, but an artist must know and then let others know that nothing is stable under heaven." So I'm here to speak on that instability. They'll call you the left when all you want are rights, and ain't that backwards? How we're forced to labor, told to raise children, but don't raise a fuss about it, ban the books, but not the gun, restrict our bodies, but not the bullets, pro-life, but anti-baby formula, breastfeed, but not in public, protect the maybe, but not the mother, learn history, but not the kind that paints the white man the problem, see us as womb and not woman, see us as property and not person, preach autonomy, but only enough just to not wear a mask, all lives matter, just not always, all the time, prohibit birth control, control the woman's right to carry, call contraception a killer, but killers still get to carry, condemn the condom, while capitalism continues to screw us all, but call us the criminal. Like policing ain't the only policing we can actually count on. Consider my privates a public matter for public debate on political playground, but don't take it personal. Don't resist. Don't fight back. Don't oppose. Don't you know you are just a woman? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayanna. That was beautiful. And thank you to all of our speakers for being here today. I want to give an opportunity for any questions that the press may have. Yeah. Anybody? I'll take it.
See Republicans at the national level. There you go. Yes, the Republican majority on our conservative Supreme Court right now has come out and said that they are against contraception in this decision that's come down with the fall of Roe. We have every bit of belief that it's happening across the country in states like Idaho and Tennessee and Texas. We've already seen those bills come up on the floor. And also be implemented in several different ways as well. So we are seeing the threat to that happen across our state or across our country. And I don't think that North Carolina is exempt from that, as we've seen with a Parents' Bill of Rights and several other bills that our state legislature has taken from national groups and national entities and brought them into the state of North Carolina. I do believe that we shall see that too.
I think North Carolina is so used to being on the defensive against conservative attacks against individual liberties. In this case, we're asking for something that is proactive of let's tell people we are guaranteeing your right to contraception. And you would think that that wouldn't be all that controversial given how popular it is with the general public and that it's something that people currently have legally available to them. And we just want to say we're going to assure you that you have that legal availability. And so when Republicans refuse to sign on to a bill like this, their silence is deafening. Their refusal to sign on as co-sponsors or to give the bill a hearing shows that they do not support this. So it leaves an open question of, would you ever restrict access to contraception? Because if the answer is no, they could show it by supporting this bill.
Yeah. Well, anybody? Yep, you go ahead, Renee. I thought you might want to take that.
Y'all have been told not to be mean. Why do I think people want to restrict access to contraception? Well, I think that there's a certain very small minority in this country that just doesn't like women very much. And we have seen that in calls to restrict access to divorce, in calls in derision for women who choose to remain single. And this is about control. It is about putting women back in their place, taking them out of the workforce, taking them out of competition with men, and reverting to a past that never was, where you've got that leave it to beaver idea of the woman in the kitchen and dad goes off to work and everybody reveres him.
Anyone else? All right, well, I want to thank each of you for being here with us today and for our crowd and all the folks that have come out to support. I want to thank all of our speakers for your advocacy, time, and perspective. And I ask each of you, either watching on live stream or here with us today, or who might see this on the news later tonight, to reach out to your state senator and ask them to support Senate Bill 540. This common sense legislation is critically important, and together we can make a difference if we make our voices heard. We are looking forward to working with each of you on this issue. Thank you.
What's his name? The guy in Wilmington shouldn't have won that race against Amy Block Deloach. What? Ted Davis? Yes, he's the one. He said it when he was a commissioner, a county commissioner. He said he wanted to ban contraception.